Well, just his updates alone, there's an agenda that writes itself every week.
Trust, that pod's got to be called Trifle. So
Boom. We are back. That's right. The 4Bs, bullish Bitcoin banter and bullshit, brought to you by none other than Mr. All-In, aka the Trillion Dollar Man, Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ, myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution, and, well, Mrs. No Show, aka Mrs. No Show, No Show. Well, she has a good excuse. Apparently, the dog is very poorly, and so best wishes to his dog. You mean his real dog?
was also very tired from arranging the opening ceremony of the Olympics. So
Yes.
I must have taken out of her.
Yes.
Hiring all those fat lesbians to pretend to do the Last Supper, and especially to get that wardrobe slip of that gay guy getting his balls hanging out behind some young girl's head at the Last Supper. Mwah.
Do you know
that is exactly wholesome, family fun, entertainment that enlightens
on a global scale
and broadens the mind.
I was going to say, a lot of people have been offended by it, and they're saying, don't be offended. It's just, blah blah blah.
It's just a ball sack.
And it's like, would you have done this with anything with Islam? No, you wouldn't, would you? And it is, you kind of put that line in. And then it was also, what was the other one? It was, I think some Christian leader has spoken out about it, and was being crickets about it. Nothing said whatsoever, but the Olympics have scrubbed some of it from their own YouTube channel and banned everyone from sharing it as well.
Yeah, they have formally apologized now.
Oh, have they?
Yeah. Do you know the only part of the Olympics? I didn't even know it was on until I saw some fat guy in blue pretending to be Jesus or something, and then some. Oh God!
I thought it was a Smurf.
Yeah. Like, how is this not like satirical, right? How is this serious? How is this a serious entertainment show? The only Olympic event, and I've only watched one part of this Olympic event, was the women's boxing. Normally, I would not tune in to watch this. However, in this year's Olympics, there's a fucking bloke fighting in the women's side.
Stop it.
He didn't half piece her up, smashed her to pieces. This is in the Olympics. There's no knockdowns. There's no KOs, right? It's meant to be points. It's essentially just tough sparring, headgear, all that kind of stuff. It's not professional, is it? It's meant to be amateur, the Olympics, which I never got that, really. I never get why boxing is amateur in the Olympics, but every other event is pro. It's like, let them just be pro fighters, right? Let's put our best people into the Olympics, and let's have, Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, they should be fighting in the Olympics, right, for gold, but instead the kids go through. Like, okay, whatever. That's a weird kink of the Olympics. But there's a bloke in there. There's a bloke pretending to be a woman. And he had his first fight today. The woman got smashed to pieces.
Wow.
You just got to go.
When's the finals on for that?
What, the final of the boxing? I don't know.
Because you can make the argument about, people want to be who they want to be, but when it starts endangering people,
exactly.
That's on another level. I think you saw it in the UFC? I think they've banned it now because I think some former man split a woman's head open.
Yeah, well, it wasn't UFC, but it was MMA. It was a much smaller promotion, and I think it still goes on down in the lower promotions. Yeah, they're still letting trans men fight women, and they're smashing them to pieces. The UFC would never allow it. Dana White would never let a man pretend to be a woman and go into the women's division because he knows what would happen. Because eventually, what's going to happen is a woman's going to die. A woman will get killed at the hands of a man, and the woke brigade are going to just be like, because I can guarantee all the protesters and all the feminazis that have campaigned to get men to either fight women, they're not watching. They don't like boxing. They probably don't like sport. They just want to fight for the right for these trans people to have equal opportunity to do everything. And like, just they identify as a woman. They should have everything as a woman, and there's no compromise. And you go, well, hold on. They are biologically significantly stronger than women.
Yeah.
Men are essentially women on steroids. That's largely what you pump into yourself. You pump in testosterone. Men have that generated naturally. We can go super testosterone by injecting even more, and you go fucking huge then. And then that is called cheating. Essentially, a man going into a woman's category is a steadied up woman that, by the way, has steadied from the age of 13 once, the hormones started kicking off. So this isn't even like someone's done steads for 2 years. This person has done steads for like the last couple of decades. This person's 30. They've been on testosterone for 20 years. It's not a fair fight. And obviously like boxing and MMA, even when it's equal, someone can die at the other end of it. Which is why like the drug testing and the cheating is seen as such a bad thing. Like someone gets caught for drugs, they get just completely pillared from pillar to post, because you could have killed someone in there. You've cheated, and then if you actually hurt someone, you could have killed them. And we're allowing it, literally. And it's the Olympics, and it doesn't surprise me. Like France have gone completely,
especially with the head guards removed now in the Olympics as well.
They were still on.
Jesus.
They're still on.
Oh,
in the fight I saw,
okay.
They're still on.
Right.
But she was bloody. You can still get like obviously the head guards around the side, but the full front of the face is open, and her nose looked like broken, all bleeding. And the second the ref kept stopping it, the second he let the fight again, he just pieced her up and he'd stop it again. It was just a constant barrage of a guy just beating up a woman, and he's going to get an Olympic gold for this. Like instead, he should be in prison for assault. Yeah. Instead, he's going to get an Olympic gold, which is one of the most coveted medals in sport. Is an Olympic gold. Like they are the hardest medals to win, and some guy's going to get it for beating up a load of women. What has happened?
Tell us, Work World. Mrs. No Show, we need a full report on our desk next week, Tuesday.
Go scribble what blew off himself.
You probably couldn't show up because he was painted blue.
Sorry,
some blue around the eyes. He's like, "Oh shit!"
Looking too much like a Smurf this week, boys. Should we move on to? It's quite
from blue to orange.
Quite an eventful week, isn't it? The Bitcoin 2024 conference. I watched quite a bit of it, though admittedly I did turn off halfway through this one about Trump. Trump was one of the speakers because is it what have we got here? Is it a clip? Oh no, actually it's just your post, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just my summary of it. Yeah,
because I was
ironic. So go for it.
I was waiting and 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 waiting.
And then the stream went down.
Then the stream went down. They're on about having some special guest who I don't think materialised. And I listened and I'm like, okay, you said a few things as will allow you to basically be in the US is what it came down to. But there was no, and then it turned into a big one of his campaign rallies, didn't it? It's like Biden this, Kamala that, the Dems hate you, we don't, vote for me, pretty much. And it went on. And I just turned it off because I went, you know what, I really don't care. I was hoping he's actually going to say something about Bitcoin. He's like, you're so clever with your Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, yeah.
Yeah, you can go play with your Bitcoin in China.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think before he came on, I was just thinking this is going to be a crock of shit. And I wasn't disappointed.
Yeah. It's interesting though, because 4 years ago, would we have ever thought that a president, ex-president, or potentially soon to be president again, running a presidential candidate, openly promoting Bitcoin and turning up at a Bitcoin event. It's just,
Yeah.
it just goes to show that these Bitcoin annual events are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I think this is now the seventh event since 2017. And yeah, it's just gone from strength to strength. Was that one that you went to 2017 or 2018 that you
Oh,
were at?
I never went to one of these ones. They started just after. No, actually, I was going to go to the 2020 one,
Yes.
but then it got cancelled because
Yeah,
lockdown happened. So they waited 2 years, moved it to Miami, and
that's right.
it was going to be 200 people in San Francisco. I literally bought a ticket, early bird, $50 it was.
Yeah,
And then they changed it to Miami, and then the attention. There's so many people became Bitcoiners over lockdown, and then the event just exploded, and they had to
yeah,
change venue like 3 times to accommodate the amount of tickets they were selling. And the tickets got to thousands of dollars just to get in.
correct. The whale
And
pass.
that just funded this massive machine that is now Bitcoin 2024, but it started Bitcoin. Originally, it was Bitcoin 2020. It was a small little event in San Francisco, but it never happened. So yeah, but yeah, no, I agree. Like the big takeaway, really, like we can go through what Trump said and what he's committed to, but the biggest takeaway really was the fact that in the lead up to it, and it must admit there's a long lead up to it because they said Trump's coming, and then it was seriously an hour that we were waiting. Uh,
That was just
but
Secret Service sweeping the room.
yeah, looking for slopey roofs and stuff, making sure. But yeah, the big takeaway really is the fact that there was some journalist on the panel at one point, and he went, I think he's from the Daily Wire. Yeah, he was, yeah. And he's like, oh yeah, I've come to Bitcoin conferences before, and normally I don't see anyone else that I recognize from the journalism world when we are covering other things. The other broadcasters will be around. And if I come to a Bitcoin conference, I don't know who anyone is, right? They're just Bitcoin journalists and me. And he went, today is crazy. Everybody is here from every news outlet, every publication is here. Everyone is represented. Everyone's going to be writing stories about what's happening today. So I guess that's what Trump brought us, really. He brought us a lot of publicity.
Yeah,
Really, what did he say, right? And this is what, the tweet that I linked to. Because he talked for a freaking 40, 50 minutes. Nearly all of it was his standing talking points that are just nothing to do with Bitcoin, right? You could just go listen to any old Trump speech from one of his rallies, and that is what he spoke about. But then interleaved every probably 10 minutes, he would talk about Bitcoin. So his first big commitment that got the biggest cheer probably of the day was on his first day of being president, he's going to fire the head of the SEC, Gary Gensler. Everyone fucking loved that. We know Gary Gensler is one of Elizabeth Warren's attack dogs. So we know that he hated the ETF being approved, even though technically his department approved it. Clearly, he wasn't supportive. We've covered it on this pod, him talking about the ETF, and he's basically telling people not to buy it. It's risky. Like, so clearly, he did not want to approve that. So it was a massive cheer from the crowd when he's going to fire Gary Gensler day one. Obviously, he didn't say he was going to hire instead. Like, oh, great. You fire one dickhead. Who comes next? Then he went, oh, he will make sure that there's a national Bitcoin strategic fund. And then he went, oh, did you know that we already hold like 210,000 Bitcoin, which is 1% of the supply? And we're like, I was sat there like, yeah, I do. You stole that from Bitcoiners. You didn't buy it, you stole it. And then he did go on to say it was stolen from people, and people that they had confiscated it from. And then he went on to go how it's so bad. That's what the government do. They will come in and they'll steal things and da da da. I go, all right, yeah, that's a nice little story, Donald. You're just going to keep that. Really, if you're really going to be nice about that Bitcoin, give it away, give it to back to Bitcoin, or that's stolen Bitcoin. And all he committed to was not selling it. So he's not going to sell the stolen Bitcoin that they've got. He didn't say he's going to add to it. He didn't say they're going to use US dollars to buy Bitcoin. He just went, as we steal Bitcoin from individuals, we'll keep it in a fund, and I promise I won't sell it. Which, a presidential term lasts 4 years. That means, oh wow, they're going to steal Bitcoin for 4 years and not sell it. The next guy that comes in will just dump it on our heads, right? So don't give a shit. But then his next big thing, because like he said 3 things, right? Fire Guy Gensler, hold the stolen Bitcoin. But then he also went, going to free Ross Ulbricht, which is the founder of Silk Road, been in prison for the last 10 years. And he said he will pardon him and release him based on time served. So that was huge. So I must admit, if I was American, I would vote for him purely on that. Because at least everything else before, like Fine Guy Gensler, like I said in the tweet, really, that's funny. It's like, haha, all right. We know nothing's going to change at SEC. Like, it doesn't. Gary Gensler is the head of the SEC. He's not doing things that he wants to do. Like, clearly, the Bitcoin ETF was approved, and he hates that, which literally proves that he has no authority or power inside his own organization. But if Ross Ulbricht actually gets out of prison, is pardoned, that's actually a genuine, only affects one person.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. So I guess as far as politicians go, undoing the justice decision of putting him in prison for like 4 life terms, that's great. So at least he said that at the end. I go, okay, that's good. But really, it's a very underwhelming speech that I thought it was literally just, I think the only reason he was here is because he'd realized Bitcoin has got quite a big following. It's quite a lot of influential people in Bitcoin now, quite a lot of rich people in Bitcoin. And he just wanted our vote. So he just said what we wanted to hear. And
more.
He was like,
and equally more donations as well.
Yeah.
Not just the vote, more donations. Because
I was just going to say, there's also on top there, is it Loomis? Cynthia Loomis? She's a Republican, isn't she?
Yeah.
So you have got different aspects of the party, but she's banging the drum for them. And then you've got Rand Paul and, is it Ron Paul? You got a pair of them Republicans again, so you have got a selection. I think Donald was the weakest of them all, but it is the Republicans are the lesser of the evils, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, the reason why the others could say more, like we had RFK up there, and Cynthia Loomis, Ron Paul, but they're nowhere near the presidential seat. Like, so this is like in the UK, the Lib Dems. Sometimes they come out with like crazy policies, right? Like, oh, we're going to abolish student debt, or we're just going to give like paternity cover for 2 years. So that, you can say that because there's no way you can fund it, and there's no way you can fund it. So because you're not going to get in, so you're not going to have to do it, right? So that's the same with these other politicians. They can go much more extreme because they know there's no chance of they're getting in, and they're going to have to do the thing, or they're underlings that will go, oh yeah, I want to do this thing, but it needs to get approved by 3 things before the president even gets there. Trump, it genuinely is the front runner to be president. He can't say things that he can't fulfill. So that's why his hands were tied to a certain degree. So that's why like there's 2 things. Well, there's 3 things that he said that you can tie him down on. He needs to fire Gary, free Ross, and he needs to not sell the Bitcoin that they've already confiscated.
And also,
what about building the wall?
Well, exactly. Yeah, he didn't do that one. Yeah, which is to a certain extent, I'm like, I don't even believe this. But
no.
But the thing is, like, so the holding Bitcoin thing, I think that can be taken away from him. I think they could still sell Bitcoin within his 4 years if he gets in. But on day one, if you fire Gary and lets Ross out of prison, those 2 things are very hard to undo.
Correct.
So especially letting someone out of prison, right? Pardoning them from prison, and then the deep state kind of going off and grabbing Ross and putting him back in, that would be, I wouldn't put it past them, but at least if he gets pardoned, they're gonna have to charge him with something else at least, because there's been a presidential pardon given. So yeah.
Also, as well, Trump will want to serve the full 4 years. So there is a chance that he doesn't make the full 4 years if midterms come up, and then obviously people vote a different way, and he won't want that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like my notes is just like this: is he is a grifter, isn't he? Like, and there are a couple of grifters there. There's Russell, the brand grifter, who came along with his brand of fear porn to get more subscribers, and like the way in which he spoke as well on stage, I was just like, he doesn't give a shit about Bitcoin, does he? Brand.
He
Neither does
kept
Trump.
mentioning crypto, didn't he?
Yeah, and you kind of like both could have done their research. Like I quite liked watching RFK. I watched Loomis. They're all quite impressive. I caught a bit of Rand Paul. Good again. And you kind of go, and these are people who kind of fit, whose beliefs fit in, don't they?
Yeah.
And that's why they're so impressive. Like RFK, I'm a little bit sketchy on. I don't fully 100% trust him.
Yeah.
But the others, I kind of like. I've got a lot of time for. And
Did
another
you
one,
catch Cathy Wood?
Of course, I did. Kathy, I would.
Yeah.
That's the difference, isn't it? Like, these people are all Bitcoiners, so
yeah.
they know, like, it's not that they like, it's like they're never going to say crypto is a slip, right? Because they know it's Bitcoin and they just know the fundamentals. So when they start
I think
talking
RFK, he knows the fundamentals, but there's just something which I don't really like. I don't know what it is. It's like Milei in Argentina. There's something which I'm kind of like going, this isn't right. And it's the same with RFK. But did you watch Edward Snowden?
Yeah.
So the thing which I took from that was he said, vote, but don't join a cult. And that's what I take away from this is vote Republicans, but don't join the cult. Like all these people who I know who have spoken to about politics, they're in the cult for either the Republicans or the Democrats. And they just can't see that it is a cult. And it's just literally, you're getting pretty much the same, but you're pledging your allegiance and you're getting shafted.
Yeah, I would literally vote Trump to get Ross out. That'd be it. I'm not joining any cult. I'm not a Trumpist. I'm not a MAGA. It's just the Dems are offering nothing, and he's saying, I'll let Ross out. I'm like, all right, if that's good.
And I won't heavily regulate. Bitcoin is fundamentally what he was saying, but obviously no promises about that. So it looks like there's a slightly better deal, but no guarantees. Like you said, the Ross is the only concrete thing which you've got in there.
Yeah. Because then, should we move on to RFK? Because this is the thing, right? Because he's running for president, but he's, if he's not, he's an independent, and an independent getting in is, basically not going to happen. But he had some massive claims to really get people excited. And I think a lot of people got excited because he went on the day before Trump, and they were hoping that Trump was going to try and one up RFK. But straight away, I was like, there's no way he one-ups him. This is the guy that is basically going to get 3% of the vote compared to, the other two getting 50% each.
Yeah, he's going to be in Kanye territory.
Yeah, he's just going to have to say some crazy shit to try and get some votes. And if he actually got in, he's going to be screwed because he's not going to be able to fulfill all the promises he's made to all these different groups of people because it all just costs money, right? So straight away, his first thing, number one, I'll buy 550 Bitcoin every day until they have 4 million Bitcoin. Right. So I don't know if he knows. This is probably, again, letting into his lack of knowledge about Bitcoin, but there isn't 4 million left to buy.
That's not exactly.
So you end up paying, the first 550,000 easy. You're not paying too much, but you get past that 1 million mark, 2 million mark. That's when it will just go through the roof, won't it?
Well, yeah, and once, let's say you got into power, right, and then everyone knows that they're buying 550 a day straight away, and they want to get to 4 million. Like you've literally just set out your entire buying strategy the price of Bitcoin will moon the day that he gets in.
Yeah.
Because no one's going
They
to
know
be
they got a
selling. They're going
buyer
to
on the
wait for
other
the
side.
Americans to buy it off you. Like, why would I sell it now on Coinbase? Like, I'll wait until RFK gets in, and they're going to buy 550 a day every day so they get 4 million. They're never getting to 4 million. So I'll just wait, and they're going to end up paying like $1 million for half a Bitcoin at some point. It's just.
I'm holding out for the Trilly per Bitcoin.
And then
I want that boat with a boat.
So yeah, then his second thing, same as Trump, this 200K Bitcoin held by the US government. Hold it, same as Trump. Third one is massive. Basically, Bitcoin transactions become non-taxable. So so it's genuinely recognized as a currency. That's massive. Obviously spending Bitcoin at the moment, you can spend Bitcoin pretty much anywhere in the world, but it's a taxable event just about everywhere other than El Salvador. So that really does limit the spending of Bitcoin, because every time you spend it, technically you should record that on your tax return, and you need to be able to log when you bought that Bitcoin, then today you're selling it, what was the profit, and then you owe the government 20% of that. It's a right ball ache. So just to go, Bitcoin is money. If you buy something with it, you're just buying something with Bitcoin. That isn't a taxable event. Massive. That was the big thing people were hoping Trump would say. He did not say that.
He did not say that.
Yeah. And then another executive order directing the IRS to treat Bitcoin as a legible asset for the 1031 exchange into real property. Don't really know what that means. I think it's an extension of the third one. But that was big. Yeah, there were some pretty big claims in there. Buying 4 million Bitcoin and then making it a non-taxable event, a game changer. Yeah, that literally would mean that Bitcoin is now the US are friendly to Bitcoin. It's not a taxable event, and they are going to try and buy 4 million Bitcoin. Ridiculously high target. Like, you would never set that target if you're being serious, because it's unachievable, right? Once the price will get ahead of them. But like I said, he's got no chance of being president. So of course he can get up and say these huge claims, because he's not going to have to do them. So
he's just trying to get. He's trying to get a few percent, so the Democrats will have him back and have him as a leader, since they just rigged the primaries.
He's got to switch to be a Republican, surely.
I was going to say that. I was going to say, if he just obviously says, I'm going to drop out of the presidential candidate race, and then obviously aligns with Trump, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Because I think then the vote would be even stronger for them both collectively, and puts them on the right path. And Kamala's got a right job on her hands.
But she is brat. I love for branding. It's so desperate, but it could help her win, because there's all those dead people to vote, and all those last minute mail votes,
and all the illegal votes as well, where you don't need any ID.
It's not.
That's coming.
Anyway, let's get off. The only thing, actually, the one takeaway that I actually took from it is, as well as the massive long wait for Trump turning up, there's a number of Bitcoiners that went on that panel, and I was amazed at how excited they were about what Trump was about to say, and how they thought this could be, an historical moment for Bitcoin and blah blah blah. I'm like, what are we talking about here? This is politicians and Bitcoin, and it is the politicians, right? This is like the equivalent of BlackRock doing the ETF and then giving them your money to buy Bitcoin, right? The most retarded thing you can possibly do. This is the top people at the top of politics in the US government that are literally in control of our inflation weeklies, right? That happen every single week. all done by this group of people. They are laughably bad. They are stealing from the people. They're doing it knowingly. They pretend it's incompetence. We know it's not. They're doing it absolutely on purpose. And they continually cover it up, lie, misdirect. And for some reason, a load of very well-respected Bitcoiners go, no, but this time it's different. This guy will change it. It's like, well, he's been in 4 years ago. He didn't change shit. Yeah, he's just another, he couldn't do half the things he wanted to do. Like you said, he didn't build a wall, he didn't do anything. The presidency is a puppet role at the top of the most powerful country in the world, but they're run by the deep state that literally call the shots. That's why Biden has been a dementia-ridden vegetable for the last 4 years. And then before that, we had Trump trying to do a load of things and failing to do nearly everything he set out to do because it isn't a real role. Like democracy is dead. Like, do we really think voting in someone like Trump, even if he went with a much more positive Bitcoin speech than he did, like the hopium that people thought that suddenly America was going to be the foundation and the home of Bitcoin. It's like, are you fucking high? These people are already richer than you can possibly believe because they are close to the money printer. Bitcoin is a threat to that. America will always be the enemy of Bitcoin. And the second they start saying they're the friend and they get closer to them, be wary because they're going to stab you in the back the second you get close. We know like they can't control Bitcoin. They can't inflate the supply of Bitcoin. So their country does not work on a Bitcoin standard. It doesn't. It completely falls apart. The amount of government spend that they have cannot be funded without money printing and cannot be funded without stealing the resources from other countries. So moving to a Bitcoin standard, and if everyone did the same, they can't fund war. They can't print more money to buy themselves yachts and have expensive parties in Davos and da da da. They can't do any of these things. They can't guarantee that their kids and their kids' kids and their kids' grandkids are going to be in power next either. Because in Bitcoin, whoever holds the Bitcoin has the power. Whereas in their world, whoever holds the titles and the jobs have the power. And they just keep passing them down to their next of kin. They are never going to be a friend of Bitcoin. And hearing a load of people supposedly be really bullish and happy that Trump is about to give a pro-Bitcoin speech and that this is going to be a huge thing for Bitcoin. Satoshi's going to be rolling in his grave if he could hear this. Like, what are we doing? Like, all I'd be excited about is number go up. Like, yay. No, like, Trump goes bullish on Bitcoin, number go up. Celebrate that. But let's not kid ourselves into thinking that America is now positive for Bitcoin. We know it isn't, and it never will be. So, yeah, I actually left the whole Trump thing super like down because I was like, there was a number of well-respected Bitcoiners I don't even want to mention that I heard speak before that speech happened, and I lost all respect for them. Like you were cypherpunks in the streets. You know, we don't have a country. We have Bitcoin, decentralized money, power to the people. Stay humble, stack sats. And we just forgot all that. I went, oh, hopefully Trump talks about Bitcoin and maybe they'll buy 1 million Bitcoin for the US Treasury. Who cares? Really? Other than number go up, who cares? It's not going to change anything. This is not a momentous occasion for Bitcoin. It's politicians trying to win votes. And if it's anything above that or beyond that, it's them trying to co-opt Bitcoin and destroy it from the inside. It's like their Trojan horse, which obviously is the BlackRock ETF, but I couldn't believe the amount of Bitcoiners that were being positive and have continued to be positive on Bitcoin Twitter. And I honestly think it's the Americans. The American Bitcoiners are so tied to their flag and so tied to that America is the greatest country in the world. They just want America to be great again. They don't want to think that they are going to need to leave And fundamentally, every single time a currency has failed, the empire that has controlled that currency fails the hardest because they had the most to lose, and they built up so much debt and so much like money that was needed to fund their society. When it fundamentally gets ripped away from them, they get crushed, and then someone else pops up. So the odds on the empire that is about to fall, which is America and the fiat system, the odds on them adopting the next thing is near zero. It's never happened before.
Do you know what? I thought about this as well, and they're obviously trying to hang on to being the number one spot without a shadow of a doubt. And they potentially have an opportunity to hang on to the number one spot by adopting Bitcoin. But I think everybody is clearly forgetting the elephant in the room, which is something that we'll come on to later on in the pod, in terms of their deficit and how much debt that they're in right now. And I don't think that they'll ever change that or address that because, to your point, no government ever does. All they'll do is just continue to spend, and it's not within their, it doesn't help them stopping from wars and stopping from spending and stopping from, well, overspending, essentially. So it's just never going to happen.
Yeah, because they could still be number one with Bitcoin, but the fact is they're not just number one. Well, number two, debatably, it's how far ahead they are than everyone else and how they can just take resources when they want, which is why, you saw the boom in infrastructure, technology, and everything else in the US from, was it like the 60s, 50s through to probably the 90s before it started crumbling because they are basically a giant heroin addict, aren't they? But they need to be back far ahead. So if you do move to Bitcoin standard, their first move, they can be number one, but they're not going to be far enough ahead to deal with the heroin addiction, are they?
Yeah, well, they're going to need to make huge cuts because the second the money printing can't continue, they can't fund like 80% of their government employees. They can't
like the CIA, the Awesome Wars, all these kind of things which have got set up, which are funded by money printing. It's the same with our government, though. You take away the money printing.
Yeah, the NHS collapses, like everything, it all implodes. This is why we've gone. Could governments go back to a gold standard? That was the most likely outcome, not to a Bitcoin standard, to a gold standard. And my argument always was they can't because they would need to cut 80 to 90% of their current spending to do that. And they can't do that. But
if you've got a real economy, it's going to cause immediate pain, but long term it'll make things better. That's how I always look at this.
Oh yeah,
you say,
no one wants to be the person that did that.
I mean, 80-90% is probably too much, but say 60%, because we know that 2/3 of the government is a crock of shit. So you remove that, and you can go, actually, it was mostly waste, and that's what you're removing. I reckon you could have a good functioning NHS, local governments, roads, schools, if you cut away the waste. Why do you need procurements in every single area? Why do you need financial accountants in each area? It should be done as a whole and budgeted out clearly.
Elon's a great example doing it at Twitter. He fired 80% of the people and the product's now better. So he got rid of just the entire middle management and a load of people that were wokey-cokey and all the censorship departments and just got rid of it all. All the people that didn't really want to be there and the people that were doing the TikToks of, a day in the life at Twitter, all gone. And the products, and everyone said when he fired 80% of people, they went, the product's going to go to shit, Twitter's going to go down all the time. There's going to be no new features. The new features in Twitter have been flying out faster than you can even think. Like every week there's like a new thing on Twitter. Never gone down. Usage at all-time highs. He fired 80% of the people. And I think like very, very highly funded like VC funded companies that essentially it's almost as similar to a government in a way, where the company is running at a certain rate and making certain money and losing money other places, right? They're spending money here, making money there. Fundamentally, their balance sheet doesn't add up. They are making less money than they're spending, but they get this free money from the side from VCs because it's Twitter or it's Uber or it's Facebook or it's Snapchat. So everyone wants to be part of it. Everyone wants to get on board on that train. So every time they ask for money, they just get it. Essentially, it's almost like straight off the money printer. It's a very similar example. And what that encourages is bloat and them just to spend the money. Like, oh, we've raised 100 million. We have to hire 100 million worth of people. And before you know it, there's another 2,000 people sat on desks. Do they all have jobs? Do they have stuff to do? Who fucking knows? But we had 100 million, so we spent it. Elon came in and went, I'm cutting the tap off. VC funding isn't happening now. We need to make more money than we spend. And he looked at it and went, 80% of people aren't doing anything. You're gone. So suddenly their cost came down, their profit went up. And they've tracked on and now they're a profit-making business for like virtually the first time in their history. And that's the same with government, but the government is just decades further down than Twitter is. Like Twitter is, you can almost do it to a certain extent because just firing, 5,000 people out of Twitter is fine. But then because it's just, it's all within Elon's remit. When you fire 80% of people in a government situation, I've forgotten what the stat was for how many people like in the UK are employed by the government. I think it's like
It's about 20%.
Is it 20 now?
Because we're not capitalist, we really are bordering on being a socialist country.
Yeah, when 20% of the population are literally employed by the government, that's and that trend, like that trend line is going up, isn't it? Like it started at 2, 3, 4, 5, and now it's 20. Fast forward another 10, 20 years, it'll be 60, 70, 80. Getting a private job is, oh, you're an outlier. Like, why didn't you work for the government? But they just can't do it. They can't. If you fired 80% of government workers in the UK, for example, the NHS stops working, schools stop working.
I don't know. I reckon the NHS possibly would work. It just depends who you sack.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is, though? Like, in terms of they want to continue giving the money to the government and having government jobs?
What do you mean? Who wants to?
Like, what's the benefit? What's the benefit of having?
Is you're taking off the plaster. Like, you've got the risk that everything falls apart if you do it, even though you can see it crumbling in front of you. So it's a risk of everything immediately going to pot is the risk of keeping on doing it, even though you know that it's going rotten.
Yeah, the analogy to the Ponzi scheme is perfect, right? Ponzi schemes keep going and everything is fine until everyone realizes it's a Ponzi and then it's chaos. So if you can keep funneling new money into the Ponzi, it keeps going, right? So that's essentially where they are as governments. No one wants to be the one that pulls the plug, which is why their end game is the Great Reset in 2030, and it's the move to this global communism that is you own nothing but you're happy. That's where they just go, and then obviously to get to there, we're going to have world wars, climate change, the whole shebang. We're going to have pandemics. It's going to be horrendous. And they're going to go, the only way to fix this is if we put all our money together. And, oh yeah, and by the way, your money and your savings and your pensions need to go to this because the world's about to end. So we've got to put it together and then we'll pay you a bit every month out of this for food and your spends. Temporarily becomes forever. So that's what they're building up to, right? Because they know there's a collapse, right? Because they know the Ponzi can only go for so long. They can only print so much money without having the entire, like every single Western nation essentially hitting Zimbabwe level hyperinflation, which clearly then at that point we fall into civil wars and government revolts, because once you've got nothing, you got nothing to lose, right? So you go and try and overthrow the government, and you go down to Westminster, and you go down and start banging on doors. So they know that point is coming, because the Ponzi will fail eventually. We're going for 50 years so far, and they're getting very close to the end of the Ponzi. So that's where they've got a different plan, but it fits in actually nicely with Elon's next tweet. I've been talking about Elon and this, and actually I'll share the picture that Elon tweeted. Elon's been going proper like crazy, even
He
crazier than he has
has.
been recently. Ever since he came out as a Trump supporter, and he's been really going balls to the wall about calling out the government. And so yeah, you've got what did he say? Where are we with the dollar value destruction? So yeah, so you've got I actually saw this is a silver dollar up here.
Mm.
How much do you think a silver dollar is worth today? Roughly.
Um, oh, I'm trying to reverse it.
I'm
So
going to
no,
say
the dollar.
20,
Go on.
21.
Nope. Close, but
Well,
not.
silver dollar. So when's that from? Is it like 1900?
It doesn't. Yeah, it is, but literally it's not when it's from. It's just about the value of the
It's
silver.
The value of silver. Oh, what's it now? Like 28 or something like that.
Yeah, it's the video I watched. It was 31 or 38 actually. 38, you said. So basically, this guy carries around a silver dollar that was like 80 years old or whatever. It might have some sentimental value, blah blah blah, but by and large, you can buy a silver dollar for $38, and just that shows you how much the dollar has depreciated since that was issued.
mm,
Because there's still a $1 note, so technically a $1 coin and a $1 note worth the same, right? But no, the
yeah.
metal that dollar was printed on is worth 38 times what the paper one is. So in this tweet from Elon, we've got the silver dollar, we've got the dollar that is backed by gold. Oh, actually, no, backed by silver, it says on here. One silver dollar. I don't know why that's there. I always thought they were on a gold standard, but who knows? Maybe they replaced these silver coins with paper initially. But then, of course, 1971 happens, and the dollar now is backed by nothing. It's just an IOU, trust us, bro. And then the next stage you've got on here is
Zimbabwe.
Bank of Zimbabwe, $50 trillion, which is still only worth $1. And then once you finish with that one, it's a bullet.
It's anarchy.
It's civil war. Money is now worth nothing. It's who's got the biggest gun. You get the stuff. It's not about money anymore. Money is long gone. People are starving. They have nowhere to live.
Well, I know you guys
It's
have
Mad
all
Max era.
listened. You guys have all listened and read The Fourth Turning, and we are, and I haven't yet. I've got it queued up, but it's a long ass book, and I want to take it in properly. But ultimately, we are. I know and understand that we are very close to the Civil War, because everything else in terms of what they predicted back in 1997 has happened to date. And if Trump would have been assassinated, we could have been fast forward into civil war.
Mm.
So be it.
Essentially, yeah.
And if you look at the stats, and I'm just going to pull them up as well. If you look at the stats of how many mass murders have happened in the US in 2024, you could already say that they're in. I'm sure it's something like 70 or something like that. It's quite a range. Ultimately, there's anarchy going on in the US. So since Columbine, when that was that year, yeah, 72. There's been 72 in June. The US has had 261 mass shootings so far in 2024 and 72 in June alone.
It's nuts, the fact that I didn't think they'd had one.
I mean, that just shows that if that isn't a country that's already not already on the brink of civil war, then what is?
Yeah, well, the problem is with these like mass shootings, a lot of that is just kids dosed up on big pharma, antidepressants, and God knows what else, with easy access to guns, so with hormones going flying through their bodies. So a lot of them are just teenagers going nuts with a gun. But and obviously we know America is the most medicated, sedated, high as a fucking kite country in the world.
Yeah.
They're famous for having near zero regulation on their pharmaceuticals. If you want to get any form of protein or shake, pill, whatever, if you want to test it on a market, people go to America. And it's nuts because it's the biggest market that pretty much is. But try and get something. You can't get anything out in the UK or Europe, which is nuts to me, really, because it's like, well, I'd assumed if it's corrupt there and they let anything through, you'd assume it's the same here. But bizarrely, it seems not to be.
Yeah.
Because I've seen things, just like little videos I've seen on YouTube and stuff about what is it? Athletic greens, and various other protein and shakes and meal replacement type stuff. They can't get approved in anywhere else other than America because the regulation over there is so lax that they just let everything through. So hence that's why they have the highest medication rates that of any other country. I used to laugh. Like I remember watching some random like reality show of something that was completely just innocuous. I can't even remember what it was. It might have been like some form of wife swap or something equally trash. But then the mum was just serving up breakfast and just pouring pills into like these bowls for the kids. And you just go and like what are they all? And it wasn't even commented on the show I was watching. And the kids would sit down, and before they even started, they would just pop these pills, drink them, and then they'd have their breakfast. And they're like, "What the hell was that?"
Yeah, just the norm.
What were all those? And they're like, "Oh yeah, they're vitamins, they're antidepressants, they're ADHD drugs." Da 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 da. da. And you go. No other country in the world does this. Just so you know, this is not normal. You don't have two bowls for breakfast, one of pills and one of porridge. This is a fucked up nation. You are so highly medicated that no wonder you're not thinking clearly. No wonder you think you're in a democracy. No wonder you think you live in the most successful country in the world. They've got you high as kites and just thinking like fucking zombies. Anyway,
I mean, as well, if you saw that link with the news reporter, I'm not really listening to the news.
What's that?
If you've seen the link that I sent in the chat.
Oh no, I didn't.
Have you seen the news reporter?
Go on.
She's a hottie.
Okay. No, I can't. Oh, it says I'm using an ad blocker. I am using an ad blocker.
Okay, well, yeah. Take my word for it.
So, should we talk about US debt? is the next one since we've just been talking about Elon's tweet.
Yeah.
So the next one is Peter St. Onge, or whatever his name is, who's come up with a big statement. 76% of all personal income tax last month went to servicing the 34 trillion national debt. So I have seen some counter arguments to this by some, I think you call them status cooks. And they're saying it's not all the income of the US, but it's missing the point, isn't it? How can 3/4 of your taxes from income, which shouldn't be taxed so heavily anyway, be dealing with a debt? And it's kind of like, it goes back to the question which I raised earlier. Where does this go? You know, if it's a government who lend themselves, then isn't that just a scam? And if it isn't, if it's a bonds, which I know the government owns a lot of, and they print off money to buy the bonds because not everyone buys the bonds because no one wants a shit coin, then who owns the bonds if the government doesn't own the bonds? And who's allowing them to print the money? I just look at this and it's this big circle of kind of like, the government doesn't own the central banks, does it?
I hope not.
Yeah, but if they don't own the banks, then who the fuck is allowing them to print money and taking their debt?
Exactly. As we've always said, like the government and the banks, they're one and the same at this point, right?
I'm not too sure they are.
What do you mean? As in, like, what, the banks were above the government?
So the Fed, using the Fed, I know that they got, you know, if you look at individual banks and they talk about loaning it out and create money creation, all that shit, but ultimately it comes from the Fed, who basically allows this.
Yeah,
and central banks are not owned by the government because it wouldn't be so fucking crazy. And if they were owned, it'd be absolutely even more insane.
No, oh right. So you're saying it could be worse? Yeah. In my world, it's as bad as they allow it to be because they are one and the same. Because in my eyes, the hierarchy is you got the deep state, and then you just got the government and banking as like their two direct reports. Maybe you got the war machine and big pharma as well as some direct reports into the deep state. But they're all just employees. Like the government are like the face of, oh yeah, you got to pretend you're in power making decisions. The Fed, yeah, you print the money and you're supposed to control the supply and all these, but they are all literally the same team that all work together. They're not competing in any shape or form.
I suppose they're the puppets, aren't they? As a way of doing it, but it's the most insane thing saying, "Oh yeah, we got to borrow from a central bank," and you're kind of going, "This makes no sense." It really fucking makes no sense, and it pisses me off whenever I see it.
It's never made any sense. It really hasn't, because where does this central bank get its money from? And it's not tied to the government.
Yeah, and then I'll read these comments on Twitter or whatever else where people are going, "Oh no, they do this, they use interest rates, slow down, blah, blah, blah. It's how the economy works." I'm just like, and it stimulates the economy. And I'm just going, how the fuck have you bought in this? I hope you're a bot. I hope you're not a real person. Because if you're a real person saying this, you're a fucking moron.
Yeah, a lot of them will be bots because what happened to this tweet, it got retweeted by Elon Musk. So it hit the big time. But yeah, but the stat is interesting, right? 76% of personal income tax last month went to servicing the 34 trillion national debt. So let's just assume, right? So this is just it's a company, it's got revenue, it's got debt. This company that is America, all of its income, well, 76% of the income actually, went just to paying debt, leaving 24% to spend on living.
Ukraine.
So true.
Exactly.
So
That's a
true.
perfect example, actually, of going, right, let's just say, you earn, let's just say for the sake of argument, make the maths easy, we all earn £1,000 a month. So we earn our £1,000, right? So £760 went straight out on debt because we're up to our neck in debt, right? We've got 240 quid left. Let's send 140 quid to Ukraine. Like, what? Hold on. Like, your debt is just a debt, right? It's not a bill. It's not like mortgages or anything like that. Like, that's a different type of debt. This is like a credit card debt or a bad loan debt. So you've still got your bills to pay. You've got your energy, your food, what your kids want to wear. You want to go on a night out. You got to pay for your petrol. Blah blah
Well,
blah blah. Blah.
do you remember like 2 years ago you had Biden's like the US always pays its debts, and they extended the debt ceiling, which is pretty much like saying we've extended our overdraft. So they only had up to 30 trillion, so they extended up to 35 trillion to make sure they could pay off their debt, which is makes it even more fucking insane. I mean, you got all the policies like all these people are paying for it, so they want schools, they want roads, whatever else, and they go, let's send it to Ukraine and send, it seems to be, we must be over 1 trillion now to Ukraine. It's been a lot of payments. It's been a lot of fucking payments to Ukraine. And then you've also got their policies. What are they? They go, so immigrants into New York, they're paying for hotels and spends per day, weren't they? And the general population are going, where's my fucking road? And they're doing very strange policies, like you're saying, you're meant to pay for all these things out there, but they're not, are they? And they have to borrow even more. So it's not going to be 35 trillion or 34 trillion next year. It's going to be 40 something. And it's going to keep on snowballing even higher. And the repayment's still going to stand at like 70% because interest rates can't come down because having to print so much money.
Well, this is an interesting one. The US Debt Clock, one of my favorite websites, regular listeners will know, is showing that the average savings per family in 2024 is $7,186. But in 4 years' time, 2028, it will be down to only $1,988. So the average family will have only $2,000 in savings. And the US homeless number is going to increase in 2028. Like, oh gosh, it's just unbelievable. It's going to go from 616,000 to something like, they don't actually show it actually in the new one, but yeah, no, in the new one, 48,471,716. So it's just a sham.
So
when you look at, go on.
I was just going to say, thrown by Ukraine completely off by saying it must run to 1 trillion, it's billions. So
yeah,
it's 60 billion by mid 2023, and they must have sent another, I don't know, 50 or so in the last year.
Zelensky says we need more.
And yeah, you've got all these homeless, like you're saying, you've got 600,000 currently homeless, and it is going to explode if they keep on going down this road. They either do a melee thing where they strip loads of government spending, or they keep on going and lots more people end up homeless. And it's the same in the UK.
It's
we're
going to
not
happen.
Immune. We're waiting for the pop to happen.
Yeah, people can't afford with this money printing and the way it's going. And people, it doesn't surprise me, but people can't save. It's not that they don't want to, I'm sure. There will always be the odd one or two.
Well, I was going to say that their rent, their mortgages, they've all gone up, especially if they're variable or had to renew their mortgage. Their
Yep.
energy bills have gone up. The cost of their food shop's gone up. Which reminds me, I read an interesting article about CPI because I don't think I really hooked on to what it was. And it's the average spend within a basket.
Yep.
So if people change their products to something else, such as a soy burger, that's still within the basket. So you're no longer spending £10 on a steak. You're spending £1 on a soy burger. So that's what's that? They'd say that's a reduction of 90%. So when you go to inferior products, it doesn't really care. So if you go, I can't afford to live in this 4-bedroom house, I'm having to move to a 1-bedroom flat. It takes that into account. So you divide your house into 4 to make sure you can live with 4 other families. Doesn't care. It's in the CPI. You're not putting your heating on. You're wearing 4 jumpers instead. Doesn't matter. You're actually saving money now because your heating's never on. So it goes into the CPI.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. The last thing they took out of CPI was coffee. Because in the last 9 months, it went up by 78%. So they took it out.
Yeah. Whereas if you actually just did a static thing and went, every week a family eats X amount of chicken breast, X amount of pasta, uses X amount of units of gas, electricity, water. That would be a proper one. Whereas CPI is your average spend. So you were using 100 units of electricity. You're now using 5 because you're turning everything off all the time. You're not watching TV because, I don't know, you're making things in the garden to sell on eBay.
Worse than that, though. They don't just do that. They take stuff out.
Oh yeah, it goes up too much.
Even if you're using it, like you said, like the soy burger thing, yeah, fine. Like 2% of people decide to take a soy burger instead of a real burger. You can't replace it now because clearly the average basket has a beef burger in it, not a soy burger. They just go, no, we're just going to replace it with a soy burger.
Yeah, but people
lying.
will stop eating meat, say by 10% over the year, so they can't afford to eat it in that 10% space.
I see.
So therefore, they'll take that and they'll go, well, actually, the spend on beef has gone down by 5%. Therefore, that counts towards it, goes against energy, and hence why it's only ever single figures because it's so manipulative. And then they will take out items which are too high.
Yeah.
Whereas, like I said, if you went, this is what a basket looks like for a family of 4 within the UK, which is they live in this rough area, they have a mortgage of 75%, and all this is what the basket should look like. And they watch TV 2 hours a night, they have the heating on an average of this amount of hours. That is how you should form a proper index.
Yeah, I knew it was dangerous having 2 inflation weeklies this week. You're just going to be once you get going on inflation weekly.
You know, this is our we love an inflation weekly.
I know, but even the cat came in to listen.
She's just like, I can hear my master getting a little bit hard. What's going on, baby? Are we talking inflation weekly again?
Because I know that Mr. Orlin pulled the shitcoin corner.
Oh man, let's move on. Yeah,
he pulled the shitcoin corner to put in property jabs every week.
That's monthly.
Yeah, we didn't.
No. He's been doing it back to back. You've been missing out because your attendance has been low. But don't worry about that.
Oh man, yeah. We're putting house images in the chat and everything. Yeah, we're going full in. I thought I'd give Property Corner a rest and let them do Shitcoin Corner back for it's going to be a 1 week only. But I literally saw this tweet today. I just thought it was just interesting because I thought sometimes you just need to go back on this and just reiterate why Bitcoin is and why shitcoins are what shitcoins are. Because this guy, he was a sterling guy. Okay, he's a fucking nobody. I don't know why he's got so many views and I liked it so I could bookmark it. So I'm taken aback by the Maxi argument that all other cryptos are shitcoins. That position possesses elements of religious fervor. It's also a thoroughly anti-innovation generalization. Is it even possible to honestly believe that every single project has no utility? So my reply directly below is yes, every project has their utility. Oh no, what have I done? The innovation wasn't blockchain, it was decentralization. All other projects don't have that and are so just databases with tokens on. This isn't new or innovative, it's just rent seeking. But I just thought his initial
Nice word. Nice word.
I just thought his initial tweet here, I think it's just it's worth revisiting because I think there's so many people that are entering Bitcoin, especially after things like the whole Trump speech and all that kind of stuff. There'd be a lot of people with eyes on Bitcoin going, isn't this a better Bitcoin over here though? Because this has oh, Bitcoin has 21 million, but that one has 40 million, or this one has 10 million, even more scarce. That whatever metric you want to give Bitcoin, there'll be some shitcoin that does it better, right? And I just think this guy might be a perfect example that someone that's just found Bitcoin and gone, hold on, why is everything else a shitcoin and Bitcoin is everything and everything else is literal shit? And I think it's just worth re-emphasizing why. So,
What are you trying to say about Dink Dunk or Shib? Funny enough, I was on a chat and they started talking about Solana, and I didn't even bother replying. I just found a GIF. I typed in shit coining and it came up with this round green thing. It pulls out a load of coins covered in shit. And I posted that, and the conversation promptly ended around Solana.
Man, I don't think people can really realize though that like literally a blockchain, it is just a database. Like databases and like computer games have existed forever, and there are rare items within that computer game. Like there's rare guns, rare armor, rare like magic powers, whatever it is, that have fake scarcity because a central authority has decided there's only one of that sword, there's 100 of that axe, or whatever, right? So if you have it inside that game, yeah, great. You are very powerful and can kill other people. But it's fake scarcity because a single authority has just decided to only create one of those things or 100 of those things. They could just go in at any point, enter into their database. Oh, you know that one sword that you paid £1 million for? Yeah, we're just going to issue another 100 and just throw them out there. I know it devalues your sword by 100 times, but whatever. We want to make more money now, so we're going to sell another 100 of those swords that were originally a one-off. That is essentially what a shitcoin is. It's just a database where people can edit. It's fake scarcity. It's not real. Like Bitcoin scarcity is real. There's no one that can go into the database and just go, oh, let's just create another million Bitcoin, or let's make the block the block time be not 10 minutes. Let's make it 30 seconds. No, these things are hard coded. Satoshi put them in, and there's miners in place, there's nodes in place. They're all making sure this network stays decentralized and secure from outside corruption. That transactions can happen to anywhere, to anyone, anywhere, anytime. Censorship resistant transactions, decentralized.
So, in summary, what you're trying to say is that my rare Pepe is not rare.
No. It's just, yeah, exactly. It's one guy that has issued 100 rare Pepes, and if that one guy decides to issue another 1,000 rare Pepes next week, he can do that.
But mine's the only one.
Yeah, yours the only one. Yeah. But honestly, like we can laugh about it now because we get it, right? It's like once you get it and the switch is switched, you get it, and that's when you become a Bitcoin maxi. There's so many fucktards out there that haven't had that switch up. So they still come in and go, but Solana only has this, or blah, blah, blah. And you go,
well, I was going to say on this chat, they acknowledge that Bitcoin is what they want to invest in, but they go down to the shitcoin casino.
what,
So
so they
that
can't
kind of-
afford a Bitcoin or something?
No, they
bias.
go down to the
Unit
shitcoin
bias.
casino to win big in order to then put it into fiat, to then put it into Bitcoin. So that's their kind of like approach to it.
Yeah.
And every time I mention, like, you going back down to the shitcoin casino, and they're like, "Oh, but I've made X amount off this," and I'm just like, "Yeah, that's what everyone says down at the fruity machine."
I'll be honest, I'm suffering a little bit from unit bias in the fact that I've got some spare cash to then reinvest into Bitcoin. And it's paining me with Bitcoin being at the current prices, much higher than I've ever bought before.
It's on discount.
It is on discount, but it's much higher than I've ever. I followed Digital Dad's process where I've always bought Bitcoin on a dump in terms of buy, stop, and I don't do, even though I talk about it being the best process, never done DCA.
I've done a lot of DCA, but I have also bought the peaks. So back in when was it? 2021. I bought near the peak. I got a lot of cash. I I listened to the Sovereign Individual. I was doing some housework one day, and I decided that I'd gone to Coinbase and put most of it into Bitcoin. So I bought a lot of Bitcoin, which obviously put my average buy a lot higher. And it's taken all those years of us being down in the dumps to get it back down low. But I kind of did it, and I was like, "Oh shit!" When it was dumpy, but I went, "You know what? Nothing's changed. It's just the time scale. It's going to be 5 years, maybe, and then I'll see a return on this."
Yeah. I've been always fortunate to have a very low-ish average buy.
Yeah, mine's not dissimilar to yours, but it's because the majority of mine has been DCA, and obviously I bought when it was a lot lower. But this chunk, I bought near the top, and then I was like, "Oh shit, what have I done?" But then I thought I know the fundamentals, so nothing changed.
That needs to be a clip, by the way. Witnessing and hearing Dr. Evil 10% making a rash decision.
Wasn't rash.
Going all in.
It
wasn't rash, but it was like it was finally him letting go and saying, "Yeah, I'm in."
Yeah, and the good thing is, by the time you did it as well, is you were a Bitcoiner when you did it. So when the price went down, like significantly down from when you bought, you didn't sell. You didn't sell at a loss. You just rode it out, and pretty much now we're nearly back to all-time highs anyway, and we haven't started the bull market yet. So that's the difference, isn't it? Like it doesn't matter when you buy if you're going to hold it,
and it's also if you understand the fundamentals.
Yeah.
You have conviction of what you buy.
The people that sell. You can't get wrecked on Bitcoin unless you sell. It's the only time. You can only sell at a loss if you sell. And I know, like, some people go, "Oh, that means you're in a cult. Like, they're telling you never to sell your Bitcoin." Blah blah blah. Okay. Well, no, it's just we are clearly in a volatile part of Bitcoin's evolution. So if you get shaken out on a big dip, then yeah, that's when you're going to get wrecked because the dip's going to get undone. Yeah, I literally spoke about it last week where we had Germany selling $2.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. It dumped the price by 20 to 30%. The second they ran out of Bitcoin, the price pinged straight back 20, 30% up to the average price and then continued past that. So you go, right, so if you were in Bitcoin and were easily shaken out, you see this Bitcoin 2.5 billion being sold by Germany. that shakes you out of the market and you're like, oh, I'll sit on the sidelines for a bit. That's a little bit scary. You probably sold the bottom of the Germany dip, and then before you know it, the price is 30% above you. And you go, oh, that's not fair. I can now buy 30% less Bitcoin than I had before. So I'll wait for the price to come back to me. And what tends to happen is the price continues north and you get less and less Bitcoin for your fiat trash cash. So, yeah, it literally, in reality, provided you buy and hold it, it doesn't matter whether you DCA or go all in. It literally doesn't matter. The only reason I encourage DCA for new people is just because it's a less emotional and easier pill to swallow for the majority of people, and also it gets away from the price anchoring that going all in or doing a big buy will bring to you.
It does, yeah.
When you lump in on a price, that price is in your head now, isn't it? When you DCA every week, you've got no fucking clue what the price you bought at, what the average price is, unless you do a load of maths on it, which most people won't do the work on. You don't know your buy price. So when the price goes up, you're happy, and the price goes down, you're sad, but you don't really know what your profit and loss margin is. And to a certain extent, that's good. Because remove that from your emotional decision making. Because if you're buying Bitcoin for the real reason, which is not number go up, it's for the revolution. It's for this is the next evolution of money. We are stacking sats here, not like stacking Apple stock or Amazon stock. You're stacking sats because it's the next evolution of money. Eventually, everything will be denominated in sats. So that's why we're doing it. It's not an investment. It is the next evolution of money. So it's over the short time frames, to a certain extent, even our lifetimes will probably be at. It's inconsequential to the price of Bitcoin. You know, it's going to be our kids and grandkids, probably by and large, that really benefit from the fact that we right here stack sats for them. And all the other kids that they are going to be talking to are going to like, go, how come I've only got, like 300 sats and you've got 4.8 billion? How'd that? Well, my granddaddy back in 2024.
My granddaddy, he hated government, talked shit about altcoins, riled up against Gensler and Trump. And he stacked the sats. He DCA'd.
Here's a link.
Here's the link.
150.
If you look carefully, but they'll talk about things like inflation dragons. They'll talk about Gary Gensler, Big Lizzie,
and how Granddaddy was a G.
So,
talking of stacks, by the way, Ledger Stacks is soon to be released. The new Ledger Stacks. I'm not gonna lie, it looks nice, and they've got another product as well called Ledger Flex, which is slightly cheaper as well. But the Ledger Stacks at £369. Oh, expensive.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna put my fucking money onto a fucking ledger, and especially one which looks like a fucking mix between an Apple iPhone and a Kindle.
Yeah, what a load of wank.
It looks nice.
It looks nice. I've been reading a couple of product reviews, and maybe we should come back to it at another time. But it's just because you said the word stacks, and it just reminded me, because I've been watching a couple of product reviews, and it looks tempting. But the reason why I say it looks tempting as well is because if you were to buy it, I liken this, because we're so early in the whole Bitcoin journey, to the first iPod. If you had iPod 1, that's going for ridiculous ridiculous money right now in terms of if you kept ridiculous money.
I've got one.
Boxed?
No, I've had it in my old Audi for 12 years, plugged into the.
It'll be scratched to fuck.
Well, no, it was in the glove box.
Well, you should look at the price of.
It's got some banging tunes on it from
Yeah.
2005 and the 90s.
Yeah, I've got one that still works, but it only works when plugged in.
Yeah.
It doesn't work independently of
Just
having the power
going back.
source.
Just going back to Ledger Stack. So I typed it into Google. I went to Google Images, and it shows me some images. It looks like a fucking Kindle Paperwhite, and it has Ethereum, Bitcoin, Solana, Cardano, Polygon, whatever the fuck that is, and XRP listed there. So I'm like, this is the kind of things you're looking at with your high time preference to buy a shitcoin wallet.
Yeah, for 369 quid.
It's ridiculous.
The fuck's going on here? Like they literally are trying to become the iPhone of, crypto wallets, aren't they? Because
yeah,
there's no point like that.
Oh god, you can even get covers. There's a board. No, maybe it's a screen. It's showing a board ape on one of them.
It's
yeah.
It's actually, I can't believe that's passed me by. I had no clue that Ledger issued them, but to a certain extent, I'm also quite glad that also has passed me by because
they show the NFTs on the cover.
So you can save your NFTs to like this fucking screensaver probably.
So you can get your stick dicks on there.
Yeah, and your crypto
stick dick screensaver.
Fuck me. Should we move on to?
Let's move on. Let's move on. I sidetracked us.
To the final story.
Yeah, it's a nice lightweight story for the end of the week.
Oh god, I'm fed up of this. Just
Hawk Tuah on that thing.
I'm waiting for it.
Round off the pod perfectly. What are you fucking talking about? This took me hours to.
I do wonder, like, how the fuck is she so famous? And what the fuck was she doing at a Bitcoin conference?
Yeah, so Hawk Tuah girl, over AKA Hayley Walsh, she's now got a Twitter account. And yeah, she started her Twitter account pretty much bang on the Bitcoin conference. So she pretty much shows up. Her first couple of tweets are, I'm at this Bitcoin thing, like who knows?
Because it was in Nashville, yeah?
Yeah, which I assume that's where she's from, maybe.
That's where I assume where she's from as well, because of her accent and that southern drawl. So that would make sense.
Yeah, literally, like her first tweet ever is on July 26th, and it's just like it's a sound thing. Then she does a video, but then her third tweet literally is free that man, sign the petition, freewash.org, and her face in front of it. So literally, it's the day she signs up for Twitter. She's at the Bitcoin conference, and she continues to then talk pretty good about Bitcoin throughout. Who knows? She's obviously not a Bitcoiner, blah blah. But hey, she threw a load of publicity towards the Free Ross campaign. She clearly spoke to someone at the event, got told what's the situation, and went, well, that's fucked up. Ross shouldn't be in prison for that. And she's tweeted it out on her third tweet. So yeah.
Do you know what? I've seen some stuff on her in terms of like, so she said everybody's talking about me just having these 15 minutes of fame, and if I've only got these 15 minutes of fame, then I'm going to spend it wisely. And to be fair to her, she must have obviously had some sort of money coming in, and she went to a pet rescue center and then donated food to the animals. And it comes across as though she is just a genuine person. Like I get the comments of what she said within order to get to this platform and this stage, but she said that I've been offered OnlyFans and all of that, and I'm not interested in any of that whatsoever. Like that's not how I want to spend my time if I have this.
I was gonna say, I think
thing.
that's the only reason why people are paying attention, so waiting for her to do the OnlyFans.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. She's just doesn't come across as that person. It
Apparently,
kind
her dad is like super Christian and
yeah,
would,
yeah,
like never forgive her if she did that. So she's like,
yeah.
nah, it's never happening. Apparently, there are loads of fake OnlyFans accounts. I saw her
Yeah,
say like all the merch, all the OnlyFans
that's
accounts that say they're me, they're not. They're all faking it. This is now me. Because clearly, I
yeah.
think she had to probably delete all her old socials just in case she got cancelled for like some old tweets that she said when she was 13. So I think she's created new accounts, but yeah, she look, we all know that she's just a normal girl, right? She was literally on a night out, walking down the street, some random YouTuber was just asking dumbass questions, and she came out with that classic line with what do you do to make guys go crazy? And she just went, you just hopped on that thing. All she said, it was a legendary line. It'll go down in history. But
History.
clearly she's just an ordinary girl, right? She's just
Internet will never forget.
ordinary girl. And guess what? She seems all right. So far, she seems all right. And she's gone to a Bitcoin conference. And the only thing she tweeted out, well, she tweeted out two things actually. She tweeted out free Ross, and then she did tweet out something about some rare Pepes. Like
Oh,
that kind of counterbalances it straight away, which clearly shows that she's not a Bitcoiner. She's just
going through
the event and she's just exploring, right? She's just seeing new things. She saw the free Ross stand, went, oh shit, that's important, tweeting that out. Then she saw some rare Pepes on the wall and some pictures and and everyone's going, oh, that's like 50 grand. And she's tweeted
She would
that
have been
out.
like, "Oh, that's a cute frog."
Yeah,
You know, that type of thing.
yeah, and it is a cute frog. And someone saying you it's worth 50 grand is like, well, that's like tweetable, like that. If that picture's worth 50 grand, that's amazing. She doesn't realize it's nonsense and it's an NFT and blah 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 blah. But yeah, it's hey, but we got Trump and Hawk Tuah acknowledging Bitcoin this week. What a week!
It's a momentous pod because this is pod 150 brought to you by the 4Bs, which are Mr. Orlin, aka the $1 trillion man, myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution, Dr. Evil 10%, the People's Champ, and Mrs. No Show, aka Mrs. No Show, not here today, but hopefully returning back because she's been putting in a stint.
or was it just a summer romance?
Oh, do you know what? I did think there could be a spin-off show which could be something along the lines of Bitcoin broads, bitches, and banter. Just a little bit different, you know. He's got a story to tell within himself.
He's the only one that can comment there. We're all fucking settled down.
Yeah, I know.
But it would have worked
hey,
20 years ago, but it doesn't work now.
well, just his updates alone, there's an agenda that writes itself every week.
Trust that pod's got to be called Trifle. So
I think that's time to end this.
Oh,
peace.
trifle.
Maybe the way to do the intro is just trifle. Need another picture of trifle in the start.
Trifle.
In the
Trifling. Trifle.